So I had the iPhone 11 since April 2020, and it served me well while I used it. Basically, here are my final thoughts after parting ways with it. I use my phone a lot, like a power user, and the iPhone 11 seen me go through 3 different jobs. It's been waterlogged, dropped, scratched, with screen protectors. I always put a case on it. Anyway, I've got a lot of use out of this phone, and the reason I'm switching is basically the battery and the display, as well as the newer phones having better, cameras and other little neat features. And I also would like to have a future-proof phone. I mean, who wouldn't? In late 2021 and going into 2022, I believe that if one were to purchase a budget iPhone, this or the SE would be the two options that came to mind. Their main differences are the screen design, the camera systems, the biometrics, other little things like that. I'm going to say it now, the SE is a great phone worth considering, and the 11 is for a smaller niche of people. Thus, it usually is not the best option for a budget phone. It's also like, I believe, $100 or $200 more than the SE is now. But for that niche of people that are considering buying an 11, here's my experience. First of all, I'll start with the design. So I'm a big fan of the size and the feel of this phone, and the rounded edges are nice. They may be a little more slippery than those of the newer boxier phones, but they have a comfortable, sleek feel in your hands, and it doesn't really leave marks at all like the new phones do. The round edges don't look as good, but some people are big fans, and if that's you, great. The cameras are great, although the main distinctions to notice here are that the ultra-wide camera does not have night mode like the wide-angle camera does, and it's also not capable of 4K 60 like the wide camera is. And it's still that way on the new phones, unfortunately. The video's great on the iPhone 11. The image stabilization still holds up 2 years later, and the picture quality is generally just really good. The night mode is really good here, even though the new cameras are much better. The portrait mode selfies on the 11 are good enough. There's noticeable blurring around like hair. Back camera images in portrait mode with the back camera look good. Though I will say with when you're taking a portrait mode of a face, the AI softening is pretty noticeable compared to the new ones. It usually uses AI to make your face have a little more detail, but here it just really makes you look like you have on makeup. Moving on, the feature which you're going to interact with most is going to be the screen, of course, and I think this display it's just okay, basically. It goes up to about 650 nits, it has good color accuracy, it's 60 hertz, no OLED, it's just over 720p, it's 828p. This is, of course, a minor complaint, since that is essentially what you're signing up for when you get this phone. However, for its release price of $700, it's ridiculous that Apple did not include at least an OLED or a 1080p display. Other $700 phones, even $300 phones, have 1080p displays on them that are Android. This is, I believe, the exact display from the iPhone XR. Aside from brightness, I think this might be a little brighter. And at the end of the day, you're taking the screen of an iPhone 8, basically, and changing the shape of it. So one of the biggest features of any phone that needs most of the coverage is going to be the battery life. And so for a heavy user like myself, I found it very important that it would be able to last a full day on a single charge. The battery life on this one specifically is at 86% after... So I got it in April 2020. It's been about a year and a half. And it still gets about 4.5 hours of screen time, which isn't terrible. At full battery capacity, you could see about 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time, which for a heavy user is really not enough. Like, you're going to be basically having to charge your phone in the middle of the day. I saw myself using about 130% of the battery capacity every day. On days of very heavy use, I would be using my phone like 8.5 hours during the summer when I would watch Netflix. I would have to charge it twice during the day, or once for a very long time. So, yeah, don't judge me about that, by the way. I don't do that anymore. Some other features, the Face ID is super fast. It only lags when you use the mask unlock feature. It has a slightly increased range of angles from which it can read your face compared to the XR. They tried to advertise it like you can be in the shower and look at your phone sitting on the counter and it would like unlock. That's BS. It's not like Baymax. It doesn't have like some enhanced sensor. It's not gonna shoot beams at your face from 20 feet away. but it's good for like 95% of times you try to use Face ID normally or with the mask watch combo like I usually do. This phone introduced Wi-Fi 6 to iPhones. It's a new, I guess, modem that makes your phone have better Wi-Fi range and speed. I honestly don't have a frame of reference for this, but I will say at my college campus, I would usually be walking around outside and I would be able to connect. I could be like 10 meters away from the building and I would connect to their Wi-Fi and have like just as good a speed as if I were inside. This is, I believe, the first baseline iPhone, meaning not Pro or S model, to have dual SIM. You can have a physical SIM and an eSIM. It used to be for the $1,000 models, like I said. The speakers sound significantly better than previous iPhones. They did try to market this. They had this whole marketing shtick where they said it was like some built different stereo spatial audio shit. My body disaster. While I can see where they're coming from on that, it only really boils down to the sound feeling like it's coming more towards you rather than shooting out the sides, I guess. The chip is really good. I never had any performance issues with it up until, when I finally retired it. It has the same chip as the iPhone SE, which is, important to consider if you're going to buy the iPhone SE. It's cited to be water resistant up to 2 meters for 30 minutes. Pretty good. In my experience, during the height of the pandemic, I would generally wash my phone, generally when my phone gets dirty, I'll wash it with soap and water. Sometimes I'll use alcohol wipes. It's never been damaged from this. I've done it, dozens of times, if not hundreds. It would only ever, if I got water in the charger port, it would just say, hey, you can't charge your phone right now unless it's an emergency. So I would just get compressed air, or I would just let it dry overnight and let it wireless charge. So yeah, that's only happened 3 times ever. All in all, this was a great phone for the 18 months I had it. It was a significant improvement over my 7, which would have 2.5 hours of screen on time, no wireless charging, single wide lens, no fast charging, no Face ID, anything like that. If you're considering this phone in 2021 or you're debating if you should get this instead of the SE, just keep in mind the battery life and display when making your choice. If you don't care about those two things a whole lot and you want a notch phone, go for it. My channel partner has the iPhone SE. We're going to hopefully do a review of that at some point later on. So stick around for that and stick around for this. That's all I got for you. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, and subscribe. Thank you.